Hi, this is a follow-up to another question from a member of class. She was inspired by some video footage she was watching from a YouTube contribution by Philip Bennett, who runs an acting lab in America. He's really talking about the work of Stanislavski as it expanded into a latter part of his work. But what she was particularly thoughtful about was something that came up in the video that she watched, and she quoted it as that they said that if you were thinking about your grandma dying, it would upset the rest of the scene and it would make it all the same. I'm not critiquing this at all. Obviously, one of the things, important things to understand is when people quote things, it's not necessarily what may have been said. So that may be partly the issue. But it's a valid question to consider in sense memory. And this is really the focus I have for answering this question. It really goes to the heart of what sense memory is about. And it's important to consider what it isn't about. Sense memory, for starters, is not about translating events of your life into the character's life. A lot of people mistake this and misunderstand that. It's not about coloring the scene with emotion. So it's not just about becoming emotional and making the scene emotional. The purpose of sense memory is to develop the relationship. Now, what I mean by this is it goes right back to the heart of Stanislavski. All the work of Stanislavski, and it's epic, I mean, it's over decades, was focused upon a central component that he was trying to consistently bring alive in the actor, and this is called the creative state of being. It is a state of being where we're becoming less self-aware, less self-conscious, less forcing for results. We're not feeling like we're an actor trying to act. We feel we are more involved in the material, the character, the scene, the given circumstances, and so forth. Now, there's a large body of training out there, all of them focusing upon the creative state of being, all legitimately constructing methodologies, techniques, etc., processes that enable the actor to become more creative with the material. Now, from my perspective as a teacher of method and the teacher of Lee Strasberg's work, the utilization of sense memory is to find a connection and ability to investigate the given circumstances, the narrative, the character, the logic of the scene, etc., from a psychological perspective, which is thus inspiring. You're entering into the world of the given circumstances. You're exploring the world of the given circumstances. Now, here's the problem. The problem for any actor is you come as the actor. You come with your own drama. You come with your desire to be successful, to succeed, to prove, to be validated, to sort out your insecurities. There's a whole bunch of dramas you bring into any space when you're trying to work. Sense memory is one of the ways of shifting that relationship from your narrative to the narrative of the character. Okay, there are many ways to build this up, and we could look at them, approaching, analyzing the text, considering the given circumstances, coming up with a characterization, costume. There's a million things you can do to build up the world of the character and the material so that you pull yourself away from your world being too dominant. But inevitably, acting is an act. It is you walking into a room, on stage, in front of a camera, and trying to reveal someone else. So there's a falsehood about it. There's a kind of paradox in all of this. Now, we find that sense memory is one of the ways of expanding and exploring the construction of the ideas that we currently have, the interpretation, for instance. You're finding material, not producing it. A sense memory, by definition, is about how you use elements of your own life to trigger thoughts, impulses, and emotions, needs, desires, aspirations, a sense of relationship to the given circumstances so you can begin to explore what the character might do. It doesn't mean that you're completely possessed by feeling. What it means is that you have an internal motivation, a creative state of being, that in that totality of self, you can then start to choose and explore in the actions, in the text, what the character might do, right? It's a bit like driving a car very fast, okay? The engine is a psychology. It gives you momentum, but you still have to consider what you're going to do with it. You have to consider in what direction and why. And of course, this duality that you may find you start to experience, which is your body is alive, but your mind is lucid and thoughtful. And thus, your mind is no longer worrying about success or failure. Your mind is not worrying about whether you're a good or a bad actor. Your mind is engaged in the narrative, what really matters in the scene. And in that connection, that inspiration, you can be creative, meaning you can explore ideas. You have the momentum to explore what the character might do. So for instance, if I simply get angry and I get angry as me, my habits kick in, my muscles kick in. But of course, if I believe the character is feeling defensive, or the character feels a sense of injustice and is challenging that injustice, I need to create the impetus, the emotional flow, the irrationality that comes with feeling. But then I can explore what the character might choose to do based upon the logic of them. Now, this does mean I have to have researched and considered the character enough to be able to resource from my brain what I think they might do. If I've not thought about the character at all, of course I'm just going to do it as me. But for instance, if I say that I am an expressive, muscular type of person, but the character is more cerebral, they're more lightweight, they believe that excessive expression is profanity or a disrespect of other people, that his father taught him always to be dignified and never show the world their emotions. If this is the construct of the character, I then have to work with the feelings that the sense memory has created to explore their choices. And once I put feeling into activity, it becomes a new reality. That's why it's creative. I create a sense of the character, not just from my intellect, but from my feelings, my psychology, my soul. And that becomes an expansive reality. It becomes a truth. It becomes what Stanislavski calls the art form of acting, that I am in a creative state, and each choice, just like a brush stroke of an artist or the writing of a pen, becomes the unique creative inspiration that I actualize. I can actualize it in gesture. I can actualize it in the tonality of the line. I can actualize it partly impulsively, intuitively, instinctively, expressively, but also I can channel it and shape it within the logic and the framework of the character. So, for instance, if I become angry and indignant, but I believe this character maintains his dignity and articulation, I focus upon channeling my natural truth through the choices of the character, and thus I develop a relationship with the character. I don't just simply show the world my truth. I hope this gives you some understanding of what sense memory is as an effective tool of exploration and revelation within the given circumstances. It's a very flexible tool. It can be used in a very industrial sense. You have to have to repeatedly cry on cue in a certain scene with lots of camera angles and lots of takes, or I have to do reaction shots. If, for instance, I'm working in a blue screen environment where nothing is actually there to really listen and respond to, sense memory can be an effective way of giving me a consistent sense of relationship to organically live with. It is a great flexible way of working. It is not about just becoming emotional. It is about stimulating relationship, which stimulates thoughts, impulses, and emotions. It gives me material to work with in relationship to the material of the story, the character, the narrative, the text.